Hiya folks, and welcome back to the Black Country Man Cave. On this episode I'm going to be going through what I believe is the ultimate starter hand tool kit for a DIYer for under £100. So sit back, grab yourself a cup of tea and enjoy the show. So I'm going to be mostly using the Screwfix website to source these tools. I'm going to be putting pictures up on the right hand side for you and a running tally on the left hand side. Plenty of other places you can source them from. It was just convenient for me to use their website. So there are three tools that every DIYer and every tradesman must have in his toolbox. That's a tape measure, a cutting knife and pencils. Measure, mark and cut. These are absolutely three of the most used tools, doesn't matter what trade or a DIYer. So when it comes to tape measures, it is worth spending a few extra pounds on them. This is an entry-level Stanley model and they've got a great reputation for quality. You can get much cheaper, you can get tape measures as little as a couple of pounds, if not cheaper. They're not going to be great quality, they're not going to be accurate, so spend the extra money and go for a budget model like this. Box knives, that's the cheapest I could find and it'll work fine. It's a metal body and it'll last donkey's years. Didn't include spare blades with this. You will need to get those, but if I did get those I'd have broke my budget, so I had to leave them out. But there's a blade in there, it'll work for a while. And with pencils, you don't necessarily have to buy carpenter's pencils like I've put there. You can just use a normal HB pencil. These do have the advantage that when you're doing scribing, you can angle the pencil to allow you to get different depth scribes. They are very useful and most tradesmen use these over a normal pencil now. So next on the list is a set of VDE screwdrivers. I've used VDE. VDE are ones that are rated to be used on electrical work, so they're not going to give you a shock if you accidentally touch something. You can buy much cheaper ones, but if you're using these around the house and you have to do a bit of electrics, you're better off having the extra safety. This set here was £14.99. Again, you can get cheaper. Aldi do an amazing set, or they certainly used to. I think they may have stopped it. They did a set for just about £6 with 7 different screwdrivers in them. I use them at work and they are amazing. VDE rated, they are brilliant. They last a long time. I batter the hell out of mine and I've had well over a year out of a set each time. Every time they come in I buy one. They're brilliant. But I don't think they're doing them anymore, unfortunately. But a VDE set like this will go a long way and will last quite a few years. You can get the non-VDE types, you can get them in kits as well. Places like Aldi and Lidl do them. And they're cheap for a reason. They're not going to last very long, so spend the extra money, get yourself a VDE set, they're worth it. So next on the list is a handsaw. These come in various TPIs, which is the tooth per inch. The lower the tooth per inch, the coarser the blade and the rougher the cut, but it will cut quicker. The higher the TPI, the cleaner the cut, but it will cut much slower and it will wear out much faster. Handsaws are a particularly useful item and they are very cheap, very easy to use, and with only a little bit of practice you can be doing quite nice straight cuts or curved cuts if need be. So the next one on the list also goes without saying, and that is a claw hammer. Absolutely one of the most used tools, whether it be knocking a nail into a piece of wood or breaking something in half like a cupboard or something that you're ripping out, or using the claw hammer to pull nails out. You'll be amazed how much you will use a hammer. Again, this is a very cheap model hammer. It's only a light one, I think it's a 16 ounce, and you can get much better hammers. You kind of don't really need to. This will last you a good many years if you look after it. So the next item on the list is a bit of a difficult one. I've gone with a combination square or an engineer square. There's a lot of different types of squares out there. I've gone with this one because it's more versatile than some of the others. So you can use this obviously to mark a 90-degree line. You can use it to mark a 45-degree line. You can use, most of them have built-in levels that you can use to level an item. You can also use it to mark a depth on a board. So if you've got a board and you want to cut, let's say 50mm off the board, you set your gauge to 50mm, run your pencil along it, 50mm all the way along. They are a pretty damn useful tool to have. I have 2 in my work toolbox and they are constantly in use. There are other squares out there. You can use a rafter square. I do use a rafter square a lot at work. Couldn't fit one into this budget, but they are incredibly useful. Also, you could just get a straightforward square like this. Pretty useful as well. Not quite as useful as a combination square. So the next item on the list is a set of Allen keys. You'll be surprised how many items, particularly in the DIY market, now use heads that require an Allen key to them. So they're a pretty useful tool to have, don't take up a lot of room, and they're pretty cheap. You can get away with choosing cheaper Allen keys because they're not used as much as your screwdriver set would be, for example. The only downside to that is that the cheaper ones do have a tendency to strip the heads a little bit quicker. So next on the list is a 3-piece set of pliers. You'll be surprised how useful these are in day-to-day life when you're doing DIY. The snippers in particular are useful for when you're doing electrical work, for cutting cables, for cutting through wires. The needle nose pliers for gaining access to small areas where you can't get your fingers in, and the standard pliers for tightening nuts, etc. For general things like bending something, they are incredibly useful. You'll be surprised how useful these are in day-to-day life. I've gone for a non-VDE set here just simply because the budget wouldn't cover it, but they're a useful item if you can afford the VDE set. So next on the list, and these generally work hand in hand, is a pair of adjustable grips and a set of adjustable spanners. These are particularly useful if you're doing plumbing work, particularly compression work, but you'll find a multitude of uses for them in the house. The adjustable spanners in particular can be used to tighten and untighten nuts if you haven't got the correct size spanners. So they're a versatile tool that should be included in everybody's toolkit. So next on the list is a junior hacksaw. They're another useful little tool to have in your toolbox. They can obviously cut metal threads down, etc. They're also useful for cutting plastic pipes. Also can be used to cut copper pipes if you're plumbing. And they're a tool that should live in most people's toolboxes. So last but not least is a spirit level. Again, this is a tool that should be in everybody's toolbox, whether you're a tradesman or a DIYer. A multitude of uses, whether it be leveling a picture, leveling some framework, or using as a straight edge to mark a line on a board that you're going to cut. For most tradesmen, they are one of the first tools that come onto a job site, and they are particularly useful for DIYers as well. So that's the end of my tool list. We've just snuck under the £100 mark at £99.87. There are other tools that could have made the list, and you can argue that some of them are interchangeable. But this one is going to give you a fairly comprehensive starter set to do most jobs around the house. So if you've got any other ideas about what should have been in the list, please put it down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please maybe consider hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, or maybe watching one of my other videos. Thank you very much from the Black Country Man Cave. Have a good day.